Hey guys, Bowie here, and this is 721D's new technology, the 4 Bloodstone Storm Spirit. There's a lot to talk about in this video. Topson basically turned this hero upside down, and in almost every single decision he goes for is different than what other pros are doing. Some of the decisions I think are related to how different this game is. For instance, the lane is a Bloodseeker versus Storm matchup. He's also playing against Attackis, he has a Pangolier carry. This is not the most normal game out there, but it's a game full of gems. As I was saying, this is not a common lane, and thus he doesn't start with the items we're used to. He saves quite a bit of gold, understanding that early bottle is crucial this game. Bloodseeker has way too much sustain and base damage, so if he wants to lane here, he will have to use remnants, and for that he needs mana, and he also needs to be careful with how low his HP is. 5 extra base damage doesn't really change things too much. That being said, it's not like Bloodseeker has skill potential on Storm unless he fucks up. The opposite though is very true, and Storm is way better at killing heroes because of the new changes to the hero. Since you don't get slowed down anymore, it's very easy to drop a Remnant while you use Electric Vortex, meaning melee heroes specifically have to be more careful. Topson starts with Vortex here, but unfortunately his Remnant was on cooldown and he doesn't get the full damage. But his easy to land combo on Storm really changes his laning stage. At level 4, if you can get the 2 Overload procs, you can easily deal 250 damage by only spending 150 mana. That's insane. Since he wears the Bloodseeker down, and this time he uses the Vortex attacks and then walks forward to get a better placement for the Remnant, he gets the kill. Maxing Overlord was pretty much the norm for a long time, but the fact that you can use Vortex just makes your hero more relevant before the level 6 power spike. And what's even crazier about the way Topson plays Storm is his early item build. I'm not going to spoil it fully now, but before all of that, he gets 2 new talismans, whereas even when the item was stronger, most Storms were going 1 into Threads Kaya. The old Threads got nerfed, and most of Storm's abilities got buffed. The max damage on Remnant is way stronger than before, you don't get move speed and attack speed slow with Vortex anymore, meaning that early Vortex is good, meaning that Overload is better than before, meaning that the level 10 Overload talent is now something to consider, and all of these changes are magic damage related, right? And the reason people went Threads on Storm is that you want to proc your Overload attacks, but that Vortex attack speed slow sucked, but that doesn't exist anymore. Topson's build, first power spike, is based on a super early Kaya, that reduces all of your mana costs, amps your damage, that by the way is also being amped by the new talismans and your level 10 talent. Obviously, Storm has some mana problems early on, so a couple of mangoes on you will always be incredibly potent. In this fight, Topson is able to slightly disengage, and watch how the backpack mango usage puts him from 60 mana back to 770, giving him a troll kill followed by almost a Bloodseeker kill. One change that I think also pushes Topson towards this early Kaya build that most people forgot is the rescaling in the AoE of ball lining. It got worse at level 3 but way better at level 1. With level 1 ball lining at that time, you would rarely deal the AoE damage since your speed is so slow when people would move until you actually reach the point that you clicked. That changed though, and when you consider the damage amp from Kaya, plus no talismans and the fact that you can use more skills with Kaya just really justifies this build. The fact that he's against a Bloodseeker also makes the early Kaya more interesting since he can dodge rupture damage more easily. Look at this fight. Topson engages on the Bounty Hunter. They turn on him. Note that he only has 200 mana. Obviously he also has an Arcane Rune, but you can see how much burst damage and elusiveness he has with this build. At the end of the day, mana regen is awesome, but since you already read the video title, he goes for a lot of Bloodstones, and the measly 3 mana regen at level 10 is not going to beat such a huge power spike in the early game with the passive damage. Whether you like it or not, mana regen is great, but you want to be able to kill heroes above being full mana. Another thing to pay attention to is the fact that he gets a second pointing Vortex. Even though you don't lose attack speed with that spell anymore, your attack speed with these items is loffable, so another point allows you to still get the spell off, get your attack, and be in range for the Remnant attack as well. Basically, with this build, you have an insane amount of kill potential early on, you clear waves ultra fast and cheaply because you have this early Kaya, and just a lot of extra overload damage. With Brown Boots, you can start the Bloodstone whilst keeping the double new talisman, and at this stage, the damage Topson can do is insane. With about 500 mana, you can easily deal up to 1200 damage to a hero. Speaking of mana, know that he has a Mango in the backpack, and he constantly uses them in the early games to try to get more mana into the fights when he is forced back a little bit. You might think that this game was a wash and super easy, but that's quite the opposite. This was actually a 1 hour game, and what really became a problem was the fact that he had insanely long roots and silences coming from the techies, and obviously you can itemize against that with U-Scepter and BKB, but that also means you will scale very poorly. If you went U-Scepter after that Kaya, maybe Topson wouldn't have died as much, but would he snowball like he did? Would he get as many kills? Just so you know, U-Scepter gives you 10 intelligence, which is 120 mana, and it costs 175 mana to lift you up, meaning you're spending 3000 gold for an item that saves you, yes, but uses more mana than it gives you. There's also the fact that U-Scepter might save you from the root, but could also set up the silence perfectly after it ends. The other options would be BKB, which is fine, but Kaya Brown Boots into BKB is a terrible item progression. Basically, what Topson does here is amp every ounce of magic he has, from the Remnant Talent at level 15 to the passive at level 20, whilst trying to become this tanky Storm that can survive stuff with the Blowstone active and the insane amount of HP he gets from all of them. Unfortunately though, before that was up, he dies twice. The second death, in all honesty, is not even his item's fault, just a misclick, but let's see how things turn afterwards. Because of the insane amount of mana he has, Topson can engage from very far away after key spells were committed. He might not have the biggest amount of solo kill potential in the mid-game, but he deals an insane amount of AoE damage. In general, Topson was very careful with his jumps. Bloodstone Storm is all about making use of your mana regen to survive every fight and have multiple initiations during the fights. As a Storm, he can't man up a Troll or a Bloodseeker without a Sight of Eyes, so he keeps waiting for the right moment, and when it presents itself, he makes sure to capitalize. For a while during this game, Topson saved a fair amount of gold, maybe considering that BKB or Orchid, but the two right-click cores had BKBs already. BKB would maybe protect Topson, but he was lacking damage, his team was lacking damage and wave clear. The kill score is insane, but the win probability and gold advantage was pretty even, considering this is a 30-minute game, and he decides to get another Bloodstone. One thing to note about this game is Topson died 5 times until the first blood got finished at 25 minutes, and then he only died 3 times in the other 35 minutes of game, just because of the way the item allowed him to play. You can see that Topson struggles to kill heroes like the Troll, but the strategy here is to wear them down. Storm can force BKBs easily, and as long as he can survive those initiations, he will have so much mana regen that he can go back later on. This strategy is obviously very dangerous too, because as you can see, once Topson gets a kill, he only gets 1 Bloodstone charge on the Bloodstone with the least amount of charges, but when he dies, he loses charges on every single one. With great power comes great responsibility. The thing though is that you get so much mana regen that you just become a different hero. Check this level 20 Storm for instance, with Orchid and a Sight of Eyes. It doesn't have half the mana regen that Topson has, with the same gold spent in items, and while kill potential is great, we already discussed the problems he faced in this game. Diving people without knowing about mines, where techies is, Jakiro's Ice Path is super dangerous. Even with Sight of Ice, Troll might actually survive his dive since he's so tanky, and then you're out of mana and you cannot get out. With these items, Topson can fight even if not bursting people from 100 to 0. Look at this play here. He tries to force Troll's BKB, and even though he almost wastes his mana, in a matter of seconds he is 50% mana already. Because Topson has so much tank ability, he can skip the HP talent at level 15, and that allows him to clear waves like butter. One Remnant and attack almost clears it all, and you might think this is minor, but it's actually huge, because you literally become a Radiant Naga that is harder to stop, especially when the level 25 talent comes. Look at this fight for instance. Topson gets silenced, and with fear of being focused down, pops the Blowstone active. For a Storm with 1 Bloodstone, that active really fucks you up because you lose a shit ton of mana. And Topson did lose a lot, but because of that insane mana regen, not only he's tanky again, regaining 400 HP a second, he has the mana regen to keep that up. You might say that the fight was bad for them, but watch again. Topson is getting more and more Bloodstone charges. Because he has insane wave clear, there are no creeps hitting his tower, and since he's always full HP and mana, he can fight again, this time without Radiant's BKBs. With Soul Mana Regen and tank ability, as long as Topson sees other heroes in other parts of the map, he can cross half the map to kill Techies with absolutely no fear. Techies uses his silence here, and that's just another free kill. He pushes the wave while he's at it, and he literally becomes god with this build, and we're not even level 25 yet. Tro is bottom fighting someone? Well, sure, just dive the Jakiro here. Topson might not have the fastest kill potential out there, but as long as you have 72 mana regen, he will always be able to do stuff. In fact, look at his obscene clip. He survives because he's tanky, and his mana regen is so ridiculous he can go back to where he was and grab this Arcane Rune. I'm not even going to say a lot, just watch what happens when he pops it after getting his third Bloodstone. This build might not be something you go for every game, but it's very well tailored. The talents make a lot of sense and synergize greatly with each other and the items he picked up. Wonky? Yes. Effective and cool as hell? Definitely yes. Every single wave gets mashed, every single rune gets scouted because you're omnipresent. As the opponents are forced to defend their tier 3s because of you, you are 100% getting those runes, and even if someone's there, you're a 3k HP Storm with 11 armor, 50 HP regen and a Bloodstone active. You get haxed? Sure. People retreat to the base? Whatever. Note again that this is not a wash. The gold advantage is a measly 5k at 40 minutes. I think I gave enough arguments for people to truly try this build out, but remember that this can backfire and you need to be extra careful about how you play these multiple Bloodstone Storm Spirit because no one wants to be a Storm Spirit with 0 charges on every Bloodstone. Guys, thank you very much for watching, commenting, and subscribing. If you want to make this channel sustainable, make sure to check my Patreon. I have a lot of rewards there that allows me to cast for free while I try to become a talent, while I make some videos for you guys. If you check the views for the videos, you can see that the YouTube algorithm now hates me. I'm getting pretty much no views anymore, and that is something that definitely scares me a little bit. If you want to be a part of the next videos, make sure to follow me on Twitter, because when I need replay IDs, I will ask for it there. If you want to watch me play or cast, Twitch is the way to go, and we also have an Instagram and a Discord channel you guys can check out. Thank you very much for being here. Bye.